It's been finally announced, and based on the feedback from industry experts, the LG G6 is shaping up to be a formidable flagship for this year. That's comforting, especially what the company had to endure for the last year. Now, before we get to the LG G6, let's briefly go back to the humble beginnings. This is the evolution of the LG G series. It didn't start with the G1. That was actually HTC with the very first Android smartphone. Instead, we had the LG Optimus G, which was released back in 2012 and was the first phone in LG's camp to be slapped with the G branding. It actually followed after the Nexus 4, so its specs and design language were very similar. Here in the US, it had limited availability as AT&T and Sprint were the only two to sell it, so its reach and general popularity were kinda limited. The LG G2 was released in the fall of 2013, and it set forth the distinctive design language that the series would be known for, like its rear-planted volume controls and power button. It didn't disappoint one bit because it was a powerhouse, featuring a very large 5.2-inch 1080p display, a Qualcomm Snapdragon 800 processor, and a 13-megapixel rear camera. It even brought along an IR blaster. For its follow-up flagship in 2014, the LG G3 made all the necessary iterative improvements. It made sure to maximize its screen real estate, cramming in an unbelievable 5.5-inch Quad HD screen, the first globally launched phone to have a Quad HD screen. It's also the very first time we were introduced to the laser autofocus system, and then later on, a VR-specific headset made for it. The only complaint critics had was its choice to continue using plastic for its body. That, however, was sort of remedied with the LG G4 in 2015, when a new leather-like rear cover was offered, giving it more of a natural feel, I guess. It certainly stood out for that, just because leather is not an option you often find. And this was the phone that was really marketed to photographers. It featured a new 16-megapixel sensor with OIS, an infrared active autofocus system, and an RGB color spectrum sensor which analyzed the lighting to optimize the white balance. And best of all, it offered true manual controls with photos. This was then arguably the crowning achievement in the series. And then came the LG G5, a radically different phone that you could say alienated longtime fans of the series. Gone were the subtle curves of the chassis and the rear-planted volume controls, replaced with a brand new premium modular design and a dual camera configuration. Now, the move to a metal body was a nice touch, but the modular aspect never seemed to appeal to customers. And even though its friends attempted to enhance the functionality of the phone, none of them really flew off the shelves. And it's sad to say it, but life wasn't good when you play more. This all brings us to where we're at today with the LG G6, a totally redesigned phone that has a lot at stake. It was back to the basics with this one, so rather than continuing with the modular approach from before, that was scrapped entirely and LG opted to keep it simple. And trust us, it's a gorgeous glass-cladded phone with features consumers crave, like a water-resistant design, built-in wireless charging, full manual controls for photos and videos, and a killer camera. Best of all, it's the first phone to market with an unconventional 18:9 screen aspect ratio, making for one heck of an impressive screen to body ratio. Now, the verdict is still pending for the LG G6, but we've seen the company go through a whole lot with the G series. Last year in particular with the G5 was a learning experience for them. However, the LG G6 seems like it's in a far better position. Only time will tell whether it'll have the staying power to remain relevant throughout the year. And that is the evolution of the LG G series. My personal favorites were the LG G3 and G4, but what about you guys? If you guys want to learn more about any of the phones I talked about in this video, you could check out our website, androidauthority.com. This is John V, signing off.